Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors, the elders and apostles, a great millstone, who are teaching this truth with sincerity. And shout out to the Akhtims out there on the four quarters of the earth proclaim this truth. Bracha the Yahweh, Bracha the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Brakatum. So, out here, the end of the week, beginning of a new one, right? Prophesying the downfall of America, Babylon the Great in the scriptures, and just the downfall of Esau Edom and his purposes, right? So we're seeing it. We're seeing it play out, right? As the least of the flock is drawing everyone into this war, right? Hezbollah has struck back for the pager incident that happened earlier this week when Israeli state, these gutter rats, decided to blow up their beepers, right? They had pretty much set detonations off, blowing up beepers, just showing you how fucking, low they go. But then again, this man, Esau Edom, man, he doesn't even shoot you in the face anymore. He just sits in a computer and, controls a joystick and pushes buttons just to kill you now. So what do you expect from Amalek, Because, of course, these people are gutless. Most of the time they have Babylon the Great fighting their wars anyways, which you can see, though, that Babylon the Great is no longer that strong fortress that it used to be, but rather all these countries are now rising up against Babylon, taking a banner against Babylon, and pretty much, though, they're all going to commence together as we see that playing out. It's quite obvious that, that the Israeli state is the one that's starting these wars there in that valley, and most of all, though, that all these places are going to eventually take, going to destroy them. But America, Babylon the Great, will come to their aid, and that's what's going to get America destroyed, especially when Damascus ceases from being a city. Now, we know that that's not too distant from the main prophecy that has to take place, which is the MOTB, made mandatory, but we can see that's around the corner too, with these central bank digital currencies and everything being pushed towards a digital dollar, a digital wallet. And pretty much so, if you don't have, the approval, you don't have it in your hand or your forehead, you're not going to be able to buy or sell. And we can see that one playing out just as much. So how much closer are we? Well, you can see that things had picked up as this report goes into about the Israeli state. Oh, and National Guard being called in as well. Yeah. So National Guard's being called in too. Why? They're about to do some sort of false flag event. Usually is what that indicates, so they have all the things in place for the next false flag, which may be a cyber security, thing where they just shut down everything. So like everything else, so as soon as these notifications stop coming in, I can push a button. Ah, fucking piece of shit. I hate it. These things fucking creep up at the top, and then you try to push the play button, and then it goes to something else. All right, here it is. Well, pretty much, though, those are missile strikes in the Israeli state, that Hezbollah has fired back against the Israeli state.
Yesterday, a critical intelligence base of the Israeli occupation forces was reduced to rubble after Lebanese resistance forces launched a fierce missile strike. The timing of the attack seems deliberate, coming just after Israel's airstrike in Beirut that killed several top commandos of the resistance during a high-level meeting. This retaliatory strike by the Lebanese resistance targeted multiple espionage and surveillance centers of the occupation regime, with reports confirming that direct hits were achieved, causing significant damage to the infrastructure of these intelligence hubs. Despite efforts to suppress our voices, we remain committed to delivering truthful, fact-based news.
So like everything else, so, Israeli state just got pounded very heavily by retaliatory strikes. So like everything else, so, that's going to draw everyone in, right? Because as the Israeli state will use a Samson option at the very end of this, then that's when, Russia will launch its missiles in retaliation for Damascus. But like everything else, though, you're going to see a lot of tit for tat. But you're going to see Babylon the Great coming to the aid of the Israeli state, as you already seen them move warships in there. And even Biden told them that we can only be there for a certain amount of time. So if you're going to do your deeds, then you better do your deeds fast. So that's why they're preparing their ground operation right now, you know, and probably have moved ground forces into southern Lebanon. It's just not being officially reported yet, but you know, they already announced that they're going into Lebanon. So we know that there's a full-blown war between Lebanon and the Israeli state. So like everything else, though, that's going to draw a lot of people in itself, you know, because of course, like everything else, though, Lebanon is an ally to both Syria and Iran, you know, and Iraq for that matter. But nonetheless, so see, that'll bring them into war. All the men of war are drawing near, right? So, like everything else, though, you know, Iran is also warning of dire consequences, again, you know, just for the recent attacks, but also they've promised that they were going to retaliate for the original ones. So once Iran is drawn in, though, you know, that pretty much, you know, is a done deal, because already the Israeli state couldn't even stop the airstrikes from Nasrallah, right, from the Hezbollah movement. So how are they going to stop Iran when they couldn't before, right? But nonetheless, though, over here you got movements being made, right, you know, silently, but, you know, reports are coming in now that National Guard is being deployed. Why is that? Oh, because this shit show of an election, and just, you know, maybe they're going to deliberately assassinate one of the candidates, most likely Trump. They'll do some sort of fake assassination, because they've already been doing so many fake assassination attempts, which we know that this is all script and this is all acting anyways. You know, it's nothing more than a script, you know, but it's a part of the bread and circuses, the distractions, right? But here it is.
All right, guys, we've got some big changes coming here inside the United States of America. It looks like the National Guard in different states are being prepared to be rolled out in the event of some sort of localized or statewide disaster. Now, we have seen different media outlets report on a new strategist saying that they are ready for another catalyst event, something bigger to happen here very soon, something that will shake America to its core. Now, I don't know if they're actually looking for the fallout from a presidential or a candidate's assassination. I don't know if they're looking for some sort of social upheaval, or we might see something like what Israel and Lebanon just did, in which all of the iPhones, hopefully it's the Vision Pros because no one bought those, but hopefully maybe all the iPhones just start to go kaboom across the states. Who knows? They are really doing some wild things out there, and we have to pay attention because this entire threat environment is changing very quickly. In the United States, you know that we are facing an economic crisis.
Yep.
Right now,
and they're engineering
the
it.
CEO of Reventure, the inflation-adjusted home prices today are 100% higher than the long-term 130-year average. This says that the U.S. is in the biggest housing bubble of all time. Online growth.
And so you know what's going to happen with that bubble. That bubble's going to eventually burst. So they are just moving National Guard in there, prepared for uprisals, right? For all these things that are going on. One of many key events, but nonetheless, though, they're always planning. And like everything else, though, you know, you see the men of war drawing near in that valley. Jeremiah chapter 49, therefore hear the counsel of the Most High that he had taken against Edom and his purposes, that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, surely you shall make their habitations desolate with them. Because the Israeli state is going to be wiped out, you know. And you can see how quickly their defense, they don't really have any defenses, so they're going to be wiped out. And it goes into further detail in Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 2. Declare ye among the nations, and publish, and set up a standard, and concrete not. Babylon is taken, Bel is confounded, Melderak is broken in pieces, her idols are confounded, her images are broken in pieces. What does that mean? That means that pretty much, though, that, you know, it no longer is going to be around much longer, right? For out of the north cometh a nation against her, and will make her land desolate. Well, how's that? By nuclear destruction, ultimately. And who has these weapons? Well, it's the one they keep toying with, right? Russia. Russia has these weapons, and they're ready. They're ready to go. And none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast, because they know once these things begin to make their mark. Pretty much though, it only takes an hour to wipe this place out. In those days, and in that time, saith the Most High, the children of Yashar'Allah shall come together, they and the children of Judah together. Well, what's that mean? That's talking about the northern and southern kingdom. Has that not already happened? Do we not have camps of both the northern and southern tribes? I think so. Going and weeping, they shall go and seek the Lord Yahweh their power. And that's what we're doing. And we're calling upon the true names, right? We're no longer calling upon those names of Baal, such as JC or Yahweh or them other false names, Jehovah. No, we're not calling upon those names anymore, because those are not the true names of the Most High. Those are names of Baal, And like everything else, though, we've been the ones that have pretty much, shown the world who we are. We've come forth, out, And like everything else, though, nothing else shall prevail against it, right? So once a famine of the word happens, that means that this word has gone out, and you can see that's right around the corner. I mean, you already see what's happening in Europe, and especially certain countries in Europe, the UK and in France. They are pretty much shutting down a lot of alternative media. You can't even speak against them anymore. If you disagree with certain things, you'll be jailed. You'll be locked up, and they're coming up with charges just for something you might have posted on Facebook or Twitter, aka X. So it's already happening, and X is actually banned in certain countries too. And they've been going after Rumble, Odysee, and BitChute in other places. So that tells me right there that okay, we only got a short time for this. So things are beginning to pick up, because the Most High had promised us that he would shorten those days for the elect's sake. Because if he didn't, no one would be spared, right? Because Esau's coming in with full wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. Because all these elites, the ones that really have planned this thing out, well, they're dying. Jacob Rothschild died, and Rockefeller, Nick Rockefeller died. So a lot of them, are dying out. So they want to see their new world order commence, And like everything else, though, even Klaus Schwab is getting old. So, Yavari is the main one telling you what he wants to do. He wants to implant everyone with a micro C-hip, and that they will be like gods reigning over them. That pretty much, though, that artificial intelligence will take over. And even Bill Gates is talking about using artificial intelligence to pretty much, go after the naysayers about, what. We'll just put it that way, Pretty much, though, he's going to go after them, has the word anti in front of it, that he's going to go after them, because you've seen these people like madmen, sparing none, right? They had a worldwide lockdown for a complete, utter hoax, because we know that COVID was nothing more than just the flu, but they made everybody lock down. All the states and countries and cities, they all locked down worldwide, and imposed curfews. And pretty much, though, you couldn't do anything, So how much more when they do a cyber event and take out the internet, because they'll do it, They've been talking about it for years, that there's going to be an EMP event, And no doubt they'll blame Russia or Iran. I mean, now they're saying that Iran is rigging the elections, right? And that Russia has been rigging the elections. I mean, they just kind of switched the blame game. But those in the know, well, we already know that it's nothing more than a shit show. That it doesn't matter which side wins. They're both pushing for the same thing. They both want a global digital currency that they can control. Donald Trump has a different idea and angle, but it's still a central bank digital currency nonetheless. They just call it something else, but still, ultimately, the government controls what you are able to buy and sell. He just happens to lean towards a different type, but nonetheless, though, they are going to get rid of cash. Cash is going to be eliminated, Pretty much, though, I mean, you see what they've done in China. They've already gotten rid of cash pretty much. People just pay with QR codes, and eventually it's going to be replaced by a micro C-hip. You won't be able to access anything without it, because eventually the newer updates in these phones and everything else, though, will require your digital identity in order to even access it. 4-digit codes or whatever, passwords and all that are going to be done away with. It's all going to be biometrics. very soon. But the biometrics will only work with the micro C-hip in there. Everything's about to change, as you could tell, though. I mean, they've been gradually getting you ready for it. That's why they started putting chips into the cards, getting you used to paying with a chip, and with now, not even magnetic strips or the chip anymore. Now, just waving the card, wave payments, just wave the card over there, like magnet. So like everything else, though, we know that the whole systems are being done away with, and they're getting rid of coin laundries. A lot of them have gone digital there too. The place that I live at has gone totally digital. It used to have the options for both, but it don't now. They're slowly but surely fading that out. So enjoy the laundromats while you still got them, because eventually that's all going to be done away with. And we can see, though, that this being the year that it's been deemed the hopeful year, all prophecy come to pass, we can see how much closer we are. And yet there's this thing that Donald J. Trump doesn't even know about called Project 2025. He claims to not know about it. Yeah, I think he does know something about it, but as far as being truly knowledgeable, well, maybe that's what they're planning to do after the fake assassination of him. Because I'm thinking that they probably would. Because National Guard don't get called in for nothing unless they're planning another lockdown. Well, you've been hearing about monkey butt, but they probably won't do it over monkey butt, even though, yeah, that's been in the news. But Disease X, they've been planning that as well for a worldwide lockdown, or just newer strains of the virus. I mean, this is 4 years later, and they always claim new strains, right? Remember Delta? Delta was the one to be afraid. Then Omicron was the one to be afraid of. Then, okay, you didn't have to be afraid because Omicron really wasn't that deadly of a strain. And they just kept on going on with it. They've been running the same script for quite some time. And you still have people till this day wearing masks, afraid of that, but they're not afraid of nuclear war. You start talking about nuclear war, the prospects of a nuclear war, people look at you as your crazy conspiracy theorist. But yet, this Ukraine war, I mean, some of the news sites are talking about it, because Vladimir Putin has made it clear. You think he's bluffing? He said it wasn't a bluff. That if any long-range missiles reach into Russia, that it would be considered a UN war. Well, that just happened. So, like everything else, though, he could go after UN targets. It tells you in Ezekiel that, things will turn back, right? Because you get into it, into these scriptures, you find out that indeed all the men of war will draw near in that valley of Yehoshaphat, and that mainly this war takes place right there, in Syria, the Israeli state. All those areas are going to be at war, right? And that the habitations will be desolate with them, right? Because, Israeli state's not that large piece of land. Israeli state is just very little. But like everything else, though, when they find themselves surrounded, because they are starting the war with Iran, I mean, pretty much there is going to be a response to that. But Magog is going to be a guard unto them, right? Everybody knows that Iran is a ally of Russia. Ezekiel chapter 38. And say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. Who's that talking about? That's talking about Russia, right? The leader of Russia, for that matter. I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And what's the modern day sword? Nuclear missiles. So all these places are going to be armed with nuclear weapons. Well, you see that that these vehicles that deliver the nuclear weapons, that yes, indeed, Syria has already used the S-200 systems. We know that Gomer already has the S-400 systems, which is Turkey and his bands, the House of Tagarma, the North Quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. So this war, these weapons will be fired. Most of them are going to hit Babylon. Be thou prepared, and prepare thyself, all thou and thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So pretty much any declaration of war against them is a declaration of war against Russia. Did they not already declare Russia an enemy? Did they not, shut down the treaty that they had, the arms treaty? Yeah, that got shut down. So NATO's already pretty much drawn them to war. And like everything else, though, eventually it's going to come after Babylon. It tells you that in verse 10. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, it shall also come to pass at the same time, things shall come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought. You know, so pretty much, though, they're going to go after Babylon. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. You know, what's that talking about? Well, just pretty much, though, there's no bars or gates. You can enter any state you want to. You can drive all around this place. You know, you could also enter therein. There isn't really any border security, right? I mean, isn't that a lot of the talks and debates, that there's no border security? So it's going to happen in this time. To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thy hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, upon the people that have gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, they that dwell in the midst of the land. So you know that's talking about Babylon the Great, when Babylon the Great comes to naught. Because again, it's going to be made wholly desolate by way of them nuclear missiles. You know, and that's what that army is called, the 200,000 thousands, really talking about nuclear weapons. Because all of them are going to be used in this war. So like everything else, though, you know, we warn you about these things before they happen. So as you see the men of war drawing near, you know that, you know, we're not too far away from it, right? But there's going to be a lot of allies of Babylon that are also going to turn against Babylon. You know, they're going to turn against America. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, and these are 10 Euro nations, these shall hate the whore, and make her desolate and naked. They shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. In other words, they'll buy into their shit, but after a while, man, they're going to burn this place too. They're going to burn it down to the ground. For Yahweh put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled, right? So they're all going to come together and come against Babylon. You know, so America has had a date with death. And it's the Israeli state that's going to bring them to that. You know, because most of those European nations do not back the Israeli state. The only one that really does is the UK. But UK is also a part of NATO. See, that's where it gets really interesting, because NATO is really 7 countries, see. But it's the 10 horns that shall hate the horse. So figuring that one out, okay, well, 7 main nations, right? That 7-nation army, okay, well, you know, Britain, France, you know, they are part of that. You know, so obviously, you know, they're never going to come against Babylon, you know. But a lot of these other EU nations are. See, that's just it. And the whore that rides the beast, well, we know it's talking about America, because America is not even a part of the EU, you know, but they still rule over here, you know, because the new Rome had moved over here quite some time. And like everything else, when caught that for a minute, thought somebody was behind me, right? Yeah, you know, they had pretty much caught that, you know, that Babylon the Great is the new Rome. And we're in the new Greek-Roman system, right? You know, you have the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, the 2 horns like a lamb but speak as a dragon, coming in with draconian laws, right? So these draconian laws, you know, look at what they did with the lockdowns in 2020, right? Very much draconian, right? You know, you couldn't do anything, you know. You pretty much were given a curfew and was told that you could, only essential businesses could actually commute, right? Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. So we know that this is talking about America, right? I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. So again, talking about the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, they're both the same party. They're just two sides of the same coin. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, which was the old Roman system, right? And causes them that dwell on the earth to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed, to pretty much come back together as Rome, as Edom. Because Edom is Rome. And he doth great wonders, that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Well, that was that nuclear destruction that happened, you know, when they dropped the bomb on Japan, you know, in 2 places. So we see that, you know, the whole world saw that. And to see them that dwell on the earth by the means of the miracles he had power to do in the sight of the beast. Now this is talking about lots of things, his technologies, you know, the many things that he's able to do, you know, the wonders, you know, things you couldn't do before in the ancient world. Well, he's able to do that now, right? I mean, just look at all the things that have been discovered out of America, especially the computer, etc. You know, so he's done these great things, right? and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the first beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image of the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. In other words, they should come together as a new world order. Well, America's been preaching that for quite some time. You know, George Bush, you know, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first one, you know, he made it very clear in his speech that they would all commence as a new world order, right? We have before us a chance for a new world order, you know, where they would be the rule of law, right? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many would not worship, the image of the beast should be killed. Well, his son George W. Bush came out and says, if you're not with us, you're with the terrorists, right? You know, after the false flag 9/11 event, right? He says, you're not with us, you're with the terrorists. So, you know, very much coming in like that. And causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Well, this is going to come by way of that digital dollar. Whether Trump is president or Harris is president, they're going to commence because, again, it's two sides of the same coin, whether they go Bitcoin side or the other side. Either way, it's going to be a government-regulated digital currency, you know? So, either way, though, you're not going to be able to buy or sell without it. That no man might buy or sell, save he that has the name of the beast or the number of his name, you know? I butchered that. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So if you don't have it, you're not going to be able to buy or sell. You're not going to be able to do anything. You know, and those that don't want to, well, they got guillotines set up. They have FEMA camps set up. You know, they already had some of these quarantine camps for those that, you know, refused to get the you-know-what. You know, a lot of people were locked up for that. You know, New Zealand had some of the strictest laws, so did Alcatraz, you know, because it was nothing but a prison island. You know, and they were going door to door, arresting people and taking them to them camps because they refused. They refused to worship the beast in his image. They refused to get down with Esau Edom. And believe it or not, these nanoparticles are actually in there. You know, graphene oxide, it's all in there. You know, so they still had tracking devices in there. So it's very much close to the chip, you know, the micro chip. So how much more when it does come to pass? It will come to pass. And we're just at the prelude to that. So hopefully all this is edifying, you know. We're seeing it come. And it may come in 2025, not long after the election, right? You know, so hopefully this has been edifying. For that I would say, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, Wa Abad Babal. Brakathum to Yehovah elect. Shalom.